I'm Hugo Pierre. I'm standing in this UNISON General Secretary election because I believe we urgently need a plan to defend our members' jobs, pay, terms and conditions, particularly during this coronavirus pandemic. The Tories have unashamedly turned to the private sector at every stage to bail them out of this coronavirus pandemic. And that has meant that working class people have lost their jobs, their livelihoods and unfortunately their lives. Our side, particularly the trade union leaders, have failed to demand of this government that they use the emergency powers they have to demand a national plan of production for PPE, for testing equipment, for ventilators and for a public test, track and trace system. And they should be demanding full pay for anybody that needs to isolate because of this virus. Now Dominic Raab, the Tory Foreign Minister, has the cheek to squeal that the Labour Mayor of Manchester is holding them over a barrel because he wants to protect living standards of working class people in Manchester. I say, over the last 10 years of Tory cuts, where we've seen 1 million jobs in local government go by the wayside and services decimated, why haven't we seen Labour mayors, Labour councillors, Labour politicians in general be holding them over a barrel even more? Our union estimates that in England alone there's a £10 billion deficit in local government funding and many councils are facing the equivalent of bankruptcy. Where our members can, they've been fighting against cuts where they feel they have the confidence to win. And we've got to give them our full backing. But we're a national union. And we can fight on a national basis to stop councils making cuts, to stop councils, not just BA, not just British Gas, but the likes of a Labour council like Tower Hamlets, where I live and I've been on their picket lines, sacking and rehiring people on worse terms and conditions. If we had national action, I'm sure that we would win. And our union should be demanding, as part of that struggle for more monies from the Tories, that Labour and SNP councillors shouldn't be voting for cuts. I know many of our members ask me, why do we fund Labour councillors that make cuts, that make us the victim of austerity? I'd want us to put a stop to that. And I have to say, I'd want to go a bit further than that. If our branches democratically decided that they wanted to support community campaigners or trade unionists that want to go into council chambers and vote against cuts, I think our branches should be allowed to do that. And I want our political funds freed up so that they're allowed to do that. The Black Lives Matter movement that took place over the summer, with tens of thousands of young people being involved, I found was really, really inspiring. But I did have to ask when I was on those demonstrations, where were the trade union banners? Because as far as I'm concerned, fighting racism is an essential part of building trade union power. We all know that COVID has exposed the extent of institutional racism, particularly in the NHS, but in many other workplaces around the country. Unfortunately, that's not news. We have to make sure that our branches have the tools to deal with that we coordinate that nationally, of course, but that we make sure that, yes, our black members get involved in that fight to rid our public sector workplaces of institutional racism. But it's not just down to the black members alone, but that this is tackled by the whole branch, involving the whole branch and make sure that we've got action plans that can deliver, and also monitoring those action plans to make sure they work. And our trade union movement must make sure that it tackles racism in our wider society. In a system where we have haves and have-nots, there'll always be a minority that uses divide and rule to make sure that they keep power. That's why we need a united fight for jobs and homes, not racism. The TUC have agreed this, but we've got to make sure that it's put into action. And I pledge, if I was General Secretary, that's exactly what I would do. My experience of fighting the far right, uniting groups of young people with trade unionists, shows that it can be done. I know that this is some of the reason why the UNISON National Black Members Committee has endorsed my campaign to become General Secretary. Our healthcare members have been in the fight of their lives. They've been trying to beat back this pandemic, often facing exhaustion, threats to their lives, and even death, unfortunately. They've been in the fight of their lives. Who would say that they shouldn't be awarded an immediate 15% pay rise? Last year we saw that the FTSE 100 bosses, CEOs of those companies, received over £100 million in bonuses alone. If it's good for them, why isn't it good enough for our members who are providing essential services? As the leading health union, we're in a position to mobilise our members, to make sure that we have demonstrations outside workplaces, outside hospitals, in towns and cities. I've taken part, unlike many of our trade union leaders, in demonstrations that have taken place this summer. But that's just a start. We also need to make sure that all the time we're mobilising our members, we're preparing them for national action that can win this claim. I believe that national action would get the support of the trade unions in general, but also would get the support of the wider working class. On that basis, we would win. And I have to say that to get all of these things, we have to address the wider issue of democracy in our union. Our branches need the resources to build up their activist base. Our branches need to be able to make decisions at conferences so that we're able to put together the best fighting strategy and not be blocked from doing that by undemocratic means. And we also need elected leaders, not just a General Secretary once every 5 years. There are other elected positions that we need. Regional secretaries, assistant general secretaries, so that we have people that are held account to put in together the plans that our members decide upon. I'm prepared to put my money where my mouth is as far as democracy and action in our union is concerned. I'm not standing to be the CEO of UNISON. I'm standing to be a fighting leader. On that basis, I'm not prepared to accept that additional £100,000 plus that goes with this job. But I would stay on my current wage, a worker's wage, a wage that would keep me fighting for the members of this union.